Hello and welcome back. Happy Wednesday, everyone. Today we are going to be doing a catch-up Tinto talk on the Islam faith in the upcoming game with the codename Project Caesar. Now, apparently this is actually a little bit of a controversial dev diary, or Tinto talk, rather, in the sense that a lot of people have given kind of negative feedback or kind of been upset with this one in regards to kind of the volume of flavor or the degree to which the flavor kind of exceeds Europa Universalis 4. And so they've been, as far as it's been reported to me, a little bit upset with this type of thing, and so we'll be getting into it. In general, I just think that the project of representing a faith in strategy games is always a little bit weird, and is always more of a gameplay type of thing to do than like a direct simulation type of thing to do, like directly simulating faiths. I don't know if that's really possible, and so I've always thought of it as a gameplay thing, but to the extent that it's a gameplay thing, you would like distinctive gameplay patterns, even though faiths tend to have more similarities than dissimilarities. I think, well, that's actually not true, but we're not going to get into that because that's a can of worms. And so we will be taking a look at the Islam faith today. And so without further ado, let's jump into it. Hello and welcome to another Tinto Talks. Yep, the Happy Wednesday. Gotta capitalize these. It's a holiday, Pavia. Come on now. Where we talk about Europa Universalis 5. And here is the first thing that I'm beginning to see why people are upset. They are tired of the lies, the gaslighting. Everyone knows that the codename is Project Caesar, and it was a codename front, and this is just yet another front. You know, you can of course wishlist this game on Steam right now, and it's titled Europa Universalis 5, but everyone knows that Europa Universalis 5, not a reasonable name for a game. This is of course an anagram of a much more reasonable name for a game, Pause Souvenir Viral, which is going to be the name of the game. That's Pause Souvenir Viral. Not Pause Viral Souvenir, but Pause Souvenir Viral. But without... wake up, sheeple, but let's continue on. Today we will discuss the mechanics of Islam. In EU5, it is considered a religious group as Christianity or Buddhism, and it is a group, and inside of it we have Ibadism, Shiism, and Sunniism. Now, we have a couple hundred hours, and so we will be giving kind of thoughts on balance and this type of thing, but honestly, we didn't engage with the Islam mechanics that closely when we were playing Mali. We kind of ignored faith a little bit, and so we don't have too much to say in regards to our experience with it as a mechanic, but let's see. As you can see, 3 religions comprise the group: Sunniism, Shiism, and Ibadism. We would have been a Sunni. Slaves working with raw materials. Wait, that was part of... Does that require you to be Islamic? Or is this referring to something else? Hold the phone. I might have just a completely lopsided understanding of balance. If this requires you to have Sunni and slaves otherwise can only... My understanding was slaves could always work RGOs. I feel like they can. I feel like we noticed that when we were playing Korea, that they were working RGOs. Surely they can work RGOs. I don't know exactly what this slaves working with raw materials means then. Unless it means that buildings, so there's a class of buildings that gives you kind of baser raw materials, and they're less efficient than the RGOs, but this allows you to get stuff like more additional lumber, and it has an input good of like clay or something like this. And so in this way, if you don't have lumber in your normal territory, you can pay for these buildings, but these buildings tend to be really expensive because you don't get a discount on them because they don't require any input goods. But they allow you to get the thing. And so maybe that means that you can work these buildings with slaves, in which case that's actually pretty nice. We have religious figures allowed plus 1, trade efficiency 1%. It's a good modifier, 1% is kind of low, and ban the imports of various liquors. And then allows piety, our pronunciation will vary, to impact the country, and also allows religious schools. The religious schools, I had difficulty executing that mechanic or feeling like I understood what was going on, but I think that was just my difficulty navigating the UI maybe. When we were playing Mali that first stretch in the first time we had access. And so there are 138 countries following the faith. And here we see some of the top ones: Egypt, Morocco, Tunis, Yemen, Tlemcen, the Golden Horde, and the Sultanate of Delhi. Don't really make the cut. Interesting. Wait, the Sultanate of Delhi? Why is the pop so low? Is that the pop following the faith? That must be the pop following the faith. Very interesting that it's represented like that. But Mali doesn't make the cut, which is fair enough. I think Mali starts with like 500,000 or 600,000 pops. Mamluks, I always forget how many pops they have. Very kind of puts you in a good position. The Mamluks are probably a lot better than I've kind of given them credit for recently. But continuing on, we have Shiism. Again, we have the slaves work raw materials. We have the religious figures allowed. We have the army morale plus 5%. I don't know how good this is as a modifier, but I think that's kind of a low amount. We have the same ban thing, and we allow the piety in the religious schools. And we see Mecca, Jarwanids, Minor Tribe of Yam, etc. Much smaller countries, and that's just because there's also fewer countries. And then we have Ibadism, which I think is going to be... it's just Oman. Oh man, it's just Oman. We have the slaves allowed, religious figures allowed +1. I think they all have that. Trade advantage 5%, shipbuilding speed 5%. Trade advantage 5%. I feel like that's kind of a bit more of a rare modifier. I think efficiency is probably better. But like the Ibadism had better schools or something like this, if we recall correctly. But let's continue on. We probably don't recall correctly. They share similar features, and inside of them is where we make religious differentiation. Here we have Sunniism, which has got religious figures from other schools, a pilgrimage, we got some stuff in here, religious schools. Holy scripture may be infallible, but distinct schools of thought have developed on how laws and norms are best aligned with it. Which school a country follows will affect its path ahead. And so I actually think we just failed to engage with the mechanic. But coming on, Muslim countries start with a school, which gives some modifiers. We see max literacy for clergy is a modifier we get, and we are kindred with a bunch of other schools. Max literacy for clergy improves conversion and assimilation, I think, or literacy on clergy. Max literacy, of course, informing what your literacy on clergy is. As you can see here, schools have different views of each other. This is important because you can invite scholars of schools that are available to your branch of Islam and don't already have a negative opinion about your chosen school. Because yes, the old EU4 scholars are also present in EU5, and now they're inside of a new category, the religious figures, which allows you some more flexibility on how to use them. Religious figure is a character that travels the earth, bringing religious bonuses to the places they settle. They can be hired by countries of the appropriate religion, although we can only follow one religious school directly. We can invite religious school figures of other schools to draw inspiration from them and to gain some of their benefits. A religious figure can be any of the following types below: scholar and a guru. I do remember us getting just a lot of characters and getting a pop-up message, something to the effect of scholar or guru. So maybe we're just getting characters in our area. A learned individual knowledgeable about Muslim law. They debate the principles and prudence, and theology of Islam. Scholars are now characters that can travel through the Islamic world and be invited to work for you. And here we have invite religious figure. Yeah, I think we just kind of failed to interact with the system. But stability, investment, plus 0.03, efficiency in cabinet. I wonder if this is referring to this guy specifically. So if he has good stats, the extra 25 efficiency, pretty nice. Blocked from rulership, yes. I remember seeing this blocked from rulership modifier a couple times. This unlocks the ability to change the main school to that of your scholar. Ugh. That's a big stab hit. Not as bad as revoking an estate, revoking a privilege. Revoking a privilege is between like 90 and 100. If you don't have reduction modifiers or something like this, it's really kind of an expensive and big hit. So if you're a country that starts with like 1 or 2 particularly bad, privileges, that's really rough. Like, I think Muscovy starts off with 1 bad one, Japan starts out with 2 bad ones, something like this. And here we have Atari, stability investment plus 0.03, and we have kindred enemy. Okay. Religious schools change, and then we become the new religious school. Is that... Okay, so is that within Sunniism we have Atari, and we're not converting to Ibadism and Shiism or something like this? In total, we have a number of schools, with some schools being available to more than one religion. Okay, so we have a Sunni, Sufi, Shia, and Ibadi. Ibadi is the only one for Ibadi. That sounds not very good for them. I suppose if the body like got like the tech bonuses in EU4 or something like that, or was it trade bonuses? I remember their bonuses seemed very distinct, but these are all the schools. I won't butcher all the pronunciations by going through them. The main currency for religion is piety, with the concept returning from EU4. Piety can go from a value of -100 plus 100, representing mysticism or legalism, respectively, giving scaling benefits to the country depending on the direction. We didn't follow this as closely as it was, but ours was just stuck at either plus 100 or minus 100. I can't remember which. But if we have 0 piety, or if piety goes above 0, we would get, so positive piety, monthly research progress, efficiency of cabinet, clergy estate satisfaction equilibrium. Clergy estate satisfaction equilibrium, in turn, informing even more research progress. I think it gives... what is it? Half a point of research progress percentage per satisfaction. I think you get plus 25 between 50 satisfaction and 100. And if that's the case, this is actually 15% monthly research progress. That's pretty good. That represents quite a lot of research. That's actually very strong. I think we had low piety because we declared war on a lot of people or something like this, and we didn't engage with the mechanic. And then we have clergy estate at a satisfaction equilibrium, interestingly also plus 10. So whether or not you're going to have a ton of it or very little of it, you want to have either plus 100 or minus 100, I suppose. Both of these are bonuses, so plus 100, minus 100 is going to make sense. And this is also the case with values. I see people debating like which value is better, like centralization versus decentralization, and then like part of that entire consideration is, generally speaking, either or both of the values are better than being at 0. So specifically, like if you're at plus 80 of a given value, you want to be able to switch to the other one really fast, and a very slow progression towards the other value is actually quite uncomfortable because you lose the plus 80 bonus that you had. Okay, but that's a little bit of a tangent on values. We see clergy estate satisfaction equilibrium, army morale, and pop conversion speed. Overall, I think these are quite a bit weaker, but I think you get these when you declare war on people, so it's probably easier to have negative 100 piety. Piety will be modified towards one extreme or the other through events, although there are some ways of adding passive monthly tendency towards one direction. Maybe we just didn't get that many events. Including privileges and cabinet actions. Another important aspect to mention regarding piety is the fact that being able to invite a scholar belonging to any of the Sufi schools, the country must already be leaning towards mysticism. And I think mysticism was this one up here. Okay. Yeah, maybe that's why we didn't get to engage. We didn't get to invite people because we had negative 100 piety. This is there are a couple actions which the country can spend its piety to gain some benefits. Country can exchange piety in exchange for stability or manpower. What's the cooldown on this, baby? What are the numbers? Let me know. In general, I think stab is like an interesting modifier. The bonus it gives is modest, and then during some phases of the game, it's actually just insanely useful. And specifically the opening salvo, and also when you are recovering from the Black Plague, it is insanely good because stability gives pop promotion speed, and generally promotion is a really big problem after everyone dies from the plague, because it's not just the case that you lost like 40% of your pops, it's you lost 40% of your qualifications as well, or 60% or whatever it is. And so even if you have enough pops to work all your buildings, all the qualified pops died. And so, but also, your stab gets hit quite often with a lot of the events with the Black Plague. And then also, often around that time period, if you start with, to kind of bring things back to earlier discussion, if you start with negative privileges, revoking them takes a ton of stab. And so your stability as a resource is really pressured early on. But then when you urbanize pretty heavily, and you start getting a lot of options, you get build speed, you tend to have a lot of money, you can queue up a lot of buildings, like this type of stuff, then stability, I think, tends to get less useful. As you get a bunch of qualification percentage modifiers, it dilutes the importance of that as a modifier. Being in negative stability gives you negative estate satisfaction, which is also quite painful, but I think that it's like more valuable in some phases of the game than others. But okay, we get manpower, 200% of yearly income for 40 piety, and we get 20 stab. Is there a cooldown on this? This is insane. So you can just cash in. Being able to bank stability is also really powerful, and this is effectively giving you that ability to bank it. That is a very interesting thing. I think that's an interesting dynamic here. That's like super... I'm just thinking of this in terms of like, this can't be like how it worked at EU4, right? Where being able to bank stability, because EU4's stability was different in terms of thinking through what people complained about. I think there was a piety mana system and there was piety payouts, and people are upset that it's the same thing. I'm not sure exactly, because EU4 we don't remember that well. Actually, we stopped playing EU4 before the piety mechanic, I think. There's also an option to perform a pilgrimage to see one of the holy sites, as long as they are owned by the country, an ally, or someone with good relations. Performing a pilgrimage will give a small increase in piety, as well as send the surrounding ruler on a holy journey. Send Mansa Musa to Mecca. Let's do it. Another important aspect to mention is the fact that Muslim countries have access to some unique laws and policies. We see the ICTA, which is, I think that well, let's read through this and see if we find the ones. Estate satisfaction equilibrium -5%, tax efficiency +5%, monthly progress towards capital economy. This seems solid enough. It is a policy, though. It's not... in my head, it was privilege. As a policy, I think this probably is bad. I think the tax efficiency is just barely better than the satisfaction equilibrium if you don't already have a lot of tax efficiency, so early on, this might be okay, and it can also be useful to try and slingshot you towards capital economy. And this is maybe something to think about in regards to what we were saying earlier, where if you're on traditional economy, having a really high traditionalism is good, and so if you're going to swap to capital economy, you actually want to do it really, really fast. And so putting something like this in temporarily is maybe something of a good shout to try and stack up as much capital economy as possible and really push through the value zone where you're close to zero, because then you're getting like no bonuses. Oh, this also allows laws? Or this is a law? This is a law for tax farming. Okay, if this is a law, then this is probably fine. If it was a policy, it occupies a slot. Sorry, this is a law, not a policy, a government policy. We have the nikah, which is going to give maximum amount of female spouses +4, male spouses +1. This looks kind of... okay. It's just the name. That's like present in other places too. And then we have Sharia law. This is a policy of the legal code law, which will give a little bit of clergy power, pop conversion speed, tolerance of heathen beliefs, -1. I think this probably... I think you'd rather just have the reverse of this, minus conversion speed and plus heathen belief. So this seems kind of bad. Implementing Sharia law will unlock an extra law. Well, okay, if you get extra stuff for it. Sharia jurisprudence with policies dependent on the country's main school. Okay, well, now it's a little bit more complex, and also 2.5% trade efficiency. That's pretty good. So maybe this gets good at this point. We don't see any of the jurisprudences, so it's a little bit difficult to know. And because we're not in game, we can't hover the tooltip. Tragic. Okay, we see the madrasa. We've built a ton of these. These are going to give... they have to be in a town or a city. They have another requirement. I'm not sure what that requirement is. Maybe it is that it has to be core. Clergy food consumption +10%. Clergy generally aren't super populous. The things that get like really populous are going to be the laborers, the burghers, and the peasants, of course. And so I think that the food consumption percentage modifiers probably not that relevant unless they're on those pops. We see pop conversion speed +10%, and what we came here for, max literacy of 5%. We also see tribesmen to peasants. I don't really know how good or bad this modifier is, but we're mainly here for the literacy. It also consumes paper and linen, and I think linen is one of the better... I think it's one of the higher base price goods. So in theory, stimulating that as consumption is maybe good. We haven't really looked at like the trickle-down effects of buildings and like PMs and like this type of stuff, because we're expecting them to change, and also analyzing several hundred buildings is going to be a monumental task, and we're kind of not looking forward to it. We also see the Sufi lounge here, which can be built anywhere in terms of size of the building, in terms of urbanization, but there is a specialized requirement we're not seeing. Max literacy for clergy plus 10%, pop conversion plead plus 10%, clergy food consumption plus 10%. It's a kind of an okay building. The thing is this production method here, the amount of money you spend paying for this is going to get taken away from the tax base of the location, which in theory makes it so that low control locations are actually better for building these types of buildings. But I'm not sure this is that good or worth it. I mean, the literacy or clergy will help you with conversion speed. And it'll also help you with assimilation, but base assimilation is really slow. The cabinet action is basically kind of like the only way you assimilate. So, currently, a balance, of course, is going to change, like over time. So anything is not going to be definitive necessarily, but just saying that's like a consideration base rate. It's kind of an okay building, I guess. Probably at 100 gold, probably not too thrilled to try and expand these early. And that's all for today. And by today, we mean last week. And by last week, we mean 6 days ago for me, because I'm recording this one day into the future. Because for me, it's still a Flavor Tuesday. Tomorrow is Thursday. Except it's Wednesday, but for you it'll be Thursday, and for us then it was also Thursday, but we didn't read it then, which means that we will publish a new behind-the-scenes video, and on a Friday we will take a look at Ottomans, except we already did. And also remember, you can wishlist Europa Universalis 5 now, but of course everyone knows it's really Pause Souvenir Viral. The true name of the game. Will it go viral? Who knows? Comment below. Anyways, if you enjoyed this video, please feel free to like, comment, subscribe, do the YouTube algorithm. And also, if you're one of the people who is upset with what was being shown, is it just the piety mana system? I don't know why people are upset with, like, the mechanics of this, the fact that there's schools and piety and, like, this type of thing. I'm not sure. Because it's roughly a port of the EU4 system, I assume is the idea, but I really don't know. But other than that, y'all have a good one.